Welcome to the Lighthome Sustainable Design podcast series. We talk with the architects and builders about green design and homes that really suit the way we love to live. It's Amanda Faulkner speaking, and I'm here today with Design Ambassador Shane Denman, who is sharing his first Design Ambassador's Choice project for the year, Fingal House. Now, Shane, what makes this such a special light home?
The siting of the property on a beach behind a sand dune. It's very light, airy, and talking to the owners, it's a very beautiful house to live in. So they were the main issues, and the use of the lightweight construction. They've used a lot of fibre cement lightweight boards with cover strips, with V-joints painted, and then they've used a lot of plywood internally for the ceilings from sustainable forests. The house is elevated above the natural ground slightly to allow the breezes and ventilation through under, because it is quite a hot area in the summertime. It's focused around an existing tree, which was a beautiful big tuckaroo tree, and the house has been centred on that tree to give a fantastic outlook from the main house, look off the deck and from inside. It's got a great sliding door system, big timber doors with glass in them that slide completely out of the way, so the boundaries between inside and outside are just blurred, and you just feel like you are in the natural environment most of the time, with the large glass panels above which let in the natural light filtered through this big tree and other trees on the property.
Well, it certainly is like being in a tree house, isn't it? That's certainly the impression you get from looking at the photographs. And I guess now that you've solved the mystery of what a tuckaroo is, because I did see that in the notes, 135-year-old tuckaroo, I did think that it was probably a tree. And
yes.
Is it native to Queensland?
Yes, it is, yeah. This building is actually in New South Wales, just across the border in Fingal, which is a little beachside hamlet, and it's a very beautiful place. It is a native tree, and it is great to see something that is established, and the architect Justin has done a fantastic job with the orientation and siting of this house. Beautiful.
And I think he mentioned in his notes that the house is kind of tucked into the dune. So is it actually like right on the beach and like built on very sandy soils, is it?
Yeah, it's very sandy soil, so it's just natural beach dunes, but it is quite a distance from the house to the beach. And there's rolling sand dunes covered in native vegetation. It's probably, could be approximately 100 metres to the beach. But the flat area where the house is natural, and then the dunes actually come away behind. So he didn't really have to excavate the site much. He just tucked all the bedrooms and the ensuite, main bedroom and ensuite into this area. And he's dealt very well with a screening of hardy sheet with a painted finish that gives a total privacy from the main living area. So the actual main bedroom, which you would see from the photographs, and ensuite is just opened into this beautiful dune covered vegetation covered dune.
That kind of orangey wall that you see in the photographs, that's actually separating one part of the property from another, is it?
Yes, it just works as a privacy screen, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wing on the opposite side is the main bedroom.
Right.
Yeah.
And just coming back to the dunes for a second, so did it pose any particular problem building on sand? I mean, it's built on, like piers and bearers and joists, I take it, is it?
Yes, yeah, it is, yeah. And so they just have a screw pile system into the ground first, and then they build the footing structure above that, so...
Now, if you had to do that with a concrete slab, the fact that it's sandy soil would have meant that you would have had to do, some more extensive piering and a slightly beefed up class of slab?
Yeah, depending on the engineers tend to put in more of a raft slab in this situation, where they basically sit it onto the top of the sand, depending on the geotech reports. But generally they would still put some piers down in the corners to stabilise it. But sand is quite a good medium to build on if it's all sand. If it's half the side sand and half clay, you do get a difference in settling and shrinkage in bits and pieces with the soil.
Now, I'm imagining that, in terms of the way it's designed that suits the Australian climate, the fact that it's so openable is a really key aspect. But is there anything else that you'd point to that makes it really work well with our kind of climate?
Again, mainly the openness, the light, ventilation. He's covered all that. The feeling of open space as well. He's really captured the feeling of being quite a modest house, that it feels grand when you're there. As I said, the blurring between inside and out, you really feel like the whole site is the house, which is fantastic.
And so is it a small footprint? Because I've got to say, looking at the photographs, you do get an impression that it's incredibly spacious, and perhaps that's also because he seems to have used a lot of voids and also a lot of clerestory windows, right?
Yes, yeah, it has. It's only quite a small site. If you excuse me, I'll just have a look at the plan and give you the size of it. Yeah, it's approximately only about 6.2 wide from the front of the house to the back, and the length of it is, it's a bit hard to see exactly, but you're probably only about 20 metres long, so it's quite small. And he's kept that the design by being almost a single room, which is pretty classic Queensland design to get that flow through the house totally. So on the other side of the lounge room, you can open the windows, which are up at the level of a lap pool. The lap pool is actually above the ground level. Mm-hmm. So that the breezes and that can all be dragged across that water as well for that evaporative cooling. So that's a great design feature as well. And the house feels big and it's only quite small. So
yes. And so just on that cooling issue, is it a house that needs any mechanical cooling in addition to the things that have been built in, if you like, as a result of the design?
No, as far as I could see in the building when I was there and had looked at the photos, they don't have any air conditioning at all. They just rely on the natural breezes. The mezzanine level is actually a home office, so it would be quite warm up there if they couldn't get the breezes through. So the use, again, of high-level ventilation really can dump all the hot air out quite quickly.
Mm. And was it an expensive home to build?
I was never told the budget from the architect, but he was saying that it was. I said it was very expensive. He said it was a moderate house. So looking at the materials and the finishes and going to the use of the lightweight materials as in hardy sheets and normal traditional sustainable timbers, the biggest expense I would have thought would have been the steel structure. Again, a master part of the house, though, to do that, to let the natural light in and the view of the tree and the dappled light. They would be the main structures, and of course the lap pool would have been fairly expensive. The lap pool's all solar heated on the roof, and the hot water's all solar. They harvest the rainwater. They are connected to sewer there as part of because of the size of the site, the sand dunes, and there is another waterway quite close to them, which they didn't want any leaching of any effluent into that. So.
Well, whilst it is beautifully designed, it's quite, and so this isn't, my question isn't going to take away at all from the quality of the design, but it looks like it's quite a simple construction, right? It's not too tricky in that respect, and so would that have contributed to the cost effectiveness of the construction?
Oh yes, yeah, it's very simple and again, mainly traditional standard materials. Even to the big sliding door system, there's just an exposed track just welded to that steel, so he hasn't tried to hide it behind helmets, and he's just said this is the building, it's honest, and this is what's holding these big doors up, and it's all on display. So a lot of the materials on display, the steel's just hot dip galvanised, left natural, all the decking's left natural. There's plywood ceilings, and they've got a coating on them, but they're all from sustainable forest. So I'd say yes, the simplicity of the detailing, there's no soffit linings, all those things make the house feel like a really nice beach house, but they do save on cost as well.
And so in conclusion, anything else that you would draw to people's attention that makes this a standout Lighthome?
There are the other thing I was going to mention too is that they've used a lightweight carport rather than a great big garage that's, they're going to stop any of the breezes going through. They've minimised fencing wherever they could to, for breezes. But just all in all, it's just a great, simple house with the emphasis of that beautiful tree being in the centre axis of it and being very well executed by the architect, Justin. So it's very, very good. Yep.
Well, thank you very much, Shane, for your selection, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you. Bye.